Let's get weird, buddy. Let's get weird.
Guys, where are we?
Well, if there's a bright center to the universe, you're on the planet that it's farthest from.
Welcome to the Outer Rim. Enjoy your stay.
Previously on X-Men.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun, and we're back talking comics because, of course, we are. If we're not talking about Severance and we're not playing Baldur's Gate, well, we might as well talk about comics. More specifically, Wolverine comics. And even more specifically, we're talking about Predator versus Wolverine #3. This Ben Percy helmed as scribe book with a plethora of artists joining Ben Percy as they tell the story of a predator hunting Wolverine throughout the decades of his life and changing a little bit of Wolverine's origin story along the way. Now, is this canon? I'm not 100% sure, but even if it is or isn't, I'm still enjoying this book and the way it's being presented. And with Percy at the helm writing again, this book has just been a blast. Is it, again, this is definitely like from the Year of the Bub last year. This actually comes out before the Year of the Bub. This book started in 2023. But as we're into the Year of the Bub from last year, and it's why we're still doing Wolverine comics, because I'm trying to finish these projects I started last year. We had Madripoor Nights and Wolverine Deep Cut. That's been, in as far as Madripoor Nights, was a lot of fun. And so far, Wolverine Deep Cut is a lot of fun. They're filling in the gaps. And then you've got Wolverine Revenge with Capullo and Hickman writing their bloody Wolverine Bloodfest. And that one's a lot of fun, but I haven't finished that yet. And as I'm going along, I'm looking for the deeper meaning or some kind of other thing, and it just feels like Hickman's playing with his action figures, and that's fine. We also had Wade Wilson III, the Deadpool and Wolverine tie-in by Joe Kelly and Adam Kubert, which to me is the personal best book of last year, dealing with either Wolverine or Deadpool or combined. So we get to Predator versus Wolverine, though, which actually came out before all these, and this is just a really unique way to tell this story. I've not read Percy's Black Panther versus Predator or Predator versus Black Panther book, but having now read up to issue #3 of this, I'm pretty excited to go and read and see if that book is worth talking about as well. And also because I don't really talk Black Panther on here, even though I really like the character. So if Percy's able to weave an interesting story for Black Panther as well, you can probably expect to see something like that here on the channel as well. But in this story, like I said, the most unique thing, what really made me want to talk about it outside of course, it's Wolverine. Of course, it's Ben Percy. But again, it's the way they present it with the different eras of time that this predator has hunted Wolverine over a 100-year span, and all the different ways that Wolverine has lived and had his own adventures that somehow mixed within all those years. This predator has been slowly learning and failing and learning until we get to like what's going to happen in issue #4, the final attack, which will be dealing with the Muramasa story and the present story. And I really want to see how Percy ties this all together. And in issue #1, you have Greg Land, Ken Lashley, and Andrea DeVito. Greg Land taking the young Wolverine, young Predator story, Ken Lashley doing the present day story, and Andrea DeVito doing the Jungle Team X story. Then in issue #2, we finished the Greg Land story, but we added We added Hayden Sherman. Hayden Sherman is doing the Weapon X facility part of the story. And then now in issue number 3, we add Kai Zama, who's doing the era of when Wolverine was training under Muramasa, where he was getting taught to fight with the blade. Meanwhile, in all these stories, the Predator keeps facing Wolverine and losing, or getting to a tie or whatever. And in the end of but he keeps coming back, kind of like learned a little bit more and learning a little bit more. It's easy now to feel like maybe the Predator's claws that come out are inspired by Wolverine, even though they're just rewriting fiction to fit these modern stories, and who knows what they'll do with it later on. But I think it's really fun that thinking like that the Predator might have been, their whole race might have been influenced by this one Predator's hunting of Wolverine. And now that Disney owns Fox and they can do whatever they want with Predator and Aliens and all that jazz, I think we have the potential for some really crazy crossovers. I mean, remember Batman and Ninja Turtles should have been, to me personally, that's just smashing your action figures together, and it's probably stupid. But guess what? It turned out it was pretty good. And so there is potential within all of these, depending on who's writing it and what kind of story they want to do. And this story is just a lot of fun. And I think a lot of ways that you are able to show like what would happen if Wolverine fought a Predator. But again, if this is a hero fighting a villain story though, still. Okay. The Predator, like when you put this up, it's not like Wolverine versus Captain America, where it's two heroes fighting each other. And it usually, it's going to end in some kind of draw, or we're going to find out that the real villain was somebody manipulating the situation. And this, no. We got to remember, everybody that loves the Predator, right? I hope that they're not. I think that you mostly come at it understanding that the Predators are bad guys. They're really cool and they have tech and everything. And those gadgets are really cool and it's gory and fun. And oh, look at, he killed somebody. That kind of thrill that people get from these kind of films. But he is the villain. So Wolverine has to beat this guy. Okay. Or does he? I don't know. In fact, what's going to be fun about reading issue number 4 is I haven't read it before. So when we do get to it, it's going to be like a live thing, just to see a real reaction, just to see how my reaction to whether or not Percy and the gang can bring this all home. Now, when we last left off in issue number 2, where we started in the jungle story, where Team X is doing their best impersonation. Sabretooth is doing his Jesse Ventura with a machine gun, with a chain gun in the forest, and losing the team one by one as they end up, Maverick and Wolverine and a bunch of the people that they were sent to kill in this coup are all hiding in this like pyramid where they set up a bunch of bombs and blow up all the Predators. But where the book ends, right? Okay, so the Predators, boom, they get defeated again. The one Predator is alive to go lick his wounds. And when he comes back, he slaughters his way through the Weapon X facility and stands over Wolverine at his most vulnerable state, where he's a blank. He isn't even Logan. He is just whatever Weapon X makes him. He's at his most vulnerable. Or is he? And that is where we're going to open up this book and start going over panel to panel. And then we'll talk about what I think about it as a whole right afterwards. So let's get into Predator versus Wolverine number 3. All right. So this is the last shot from Predator versus Wolverine. I call it a shot like it's a movie. This is the last panel from Predator versus Wolverine number 2. And when I read this, again, I was talking about Barry Windsor Smith's Weapon X book from Marvel Comics Presents back in the day. And this definitely evokes that feeling. Again, I love all the visual styles that each artist brings to each era. And it's no different here as we start Predator versus Wolverine number 3. Now, the only thing I didn't like about this, and it's the thing I guess I haven't liked about any of the covers, and I don't think that like covers need to absolutely have what's going on in the front. of it. But like this is like the end of the story. Like the last couple of panels, he's not even in his costume in it. I don't know why it bugs me sometimes, but it shouldn't. Because I love that the cover should be like, hey, like it's the way to. I don't know. I'm getting into something that has nothing to do with this book right now. But I like this cover because it does say, okay, we're gonna see Wolverine back in Japan fighting a predator. But really, it's gonna be mostly in issue number 4 that this really goes out. That's what I mean. Okay, we're talking about it. So basically, the main part of this story that's on this cover is going to take place in issue number 4, not issue number 3. This like the Wolverine in Japan part does not start until the last couple of pages. So it's just kind of, I don't know. This should have been a Weapon X cover, just like the first issue of this book has Wolverine in his Weapon X outfit, right? That's what this cover should be. I don't know what that cover of number 1 should be. Maybe it should be from the present, or maybe it should be from Greg Land's Yukon book. And in fact, the Predator versus Wolverine number 1 book does look like it takes place in the Yukon, but for some reason, I don't know. Okay. And the Weapon X facilities in Canada too, so whatever. Anyway, I'm digging a hole. Let's get to the book. Canada. Now, I'm trapped under 2 tons of rubble at the bottom of a river, and he thinks he's got me. But I know something he doesn't. Hunting is elemental. And yeah, they cut away from this story in issue number 2 as they discussed like the adamantium skeleton that's in Wolverine's body. It weighs him down, but he's trapped under a rock. And when we cut away, this is what we see is a predator coming at him under all this rock. And we know, like, how's he getting out of this, right? And now we've had to wait until this moment to find out how he would. And, it's pretty obvious, but still, it's a tense. I'm imagining the animated movie, or I'm imagining a live action version of this in my head as I'm reading it. You study dirt for tracks and spore. You stay downwind. You note what's growing or hatching or breeding. You know where to find water and shelter. It's not about the gear. You ever come across those trophy hunters who drop 20 grand to kill a grizzly or a lion with their laser sights and multi-caliber sniper rifles? You know they don't really know what they're doing. The fancier the tech, the cockier you get. And the more detached you are from the musk and blood beat of the thing you want dead. In the right hands, the same job could be done with a simple blade. Or 3. Weapon X facility. The past. Adamantium density scan. I don't remember much about my time with Weapon X. Flashes, like a short-circuiting TV plugged into my eyes. Shk! My body and my mind did not belong to me. They had zeroed me out and filled me up with adamantium, so that I was nothing more than a blade sheathed in meat. And it's just this thing, like, it's not, it could walk in there and just end this, right? But there's this, like, it sees that he's not a threat. He's not the prey. He doesn't want to just kill his prey like this. But they're also like dirty, like a lot of these predators, right? I mean, look at the first predator. He was gonna die, and he decides, I'm just gonna nuke everything, right? These guys they don't play fair. So he's there, like he's there to get his trophy. He wants to understand. He actually just shows up and finds him at his most vulnerable. Like, okay, fine, fuck it. Here I am. I want this guy. And now he understands like why he can't kill this guy. Sort of. He knows now that this guy's got a unbreakable skeleton attached to his body. And he's doing it like in this very like just kind of detached way of like a hunter just opening up a deer. And meanwhile, you got Wolverine here just talking about like and we realize like as this is happening, he's got not a thought in his head. This is all just from the present, just trying to recall any of this stuff. You wouldn't want to remember this. I had no moral code. I had no intelligent thought. I only knew how to hurt. Snicked. So the Yautja had found me at my most dangerous. I mean, just wakes up and just berserker right into this thing's chest. Like, and at my most vulnerable. Right in. This hunt began for simple reasons. I was a challenging prey. Now, this is like, now we're seeing what he did to the guy outside of the Weapon X facility. This is horrifying. Straight into his mouth. Then things grew more complicated as he was driven by pride and revenge. But that day in the Weapon X lab, I think our story took on a whole other level of meaning. When he understood my skeleton was sleeved in adamantium. I became the ultimate trophy. So now he's just like, well, I got it. I understand. This is why he can't die. I'm just taking him out of here. I fought this guy long enough. This guy's got a metal skeleton. I take this guy back as a trophy. I am going to be a god among the predators. I don't know how it works. What little I know of this time, I've learned by playing detective. Patching together surveillance footage. Recorded phone calls. Mission reports. If the government is good at anything, it's stacking up reams of bureaucratic records. Now, see, he's just walking this guy out of here, and he sees the skeleton, but I still don't think this predator understands completely. Like, he sees that this guy can take damage, but I don't think he understands why yet. But we don't know what he knows or what he doesn't know. Does he know about mutants? Does he know how that works? Has he done enough? Have the predators done research on superhumans on Earth? Because he should be paying attention that while he's been carrying this guy and tosses him on the floor like a hunk of meat, just getting ready to, remove the head, we can see that he's already healing from the neck wound up. But there are some things beyond their reach and reckoning. Because look at how many things he's taken, We were both in a bad way. Yeah, because he fucked him up. He had to kind of leave anyway, I guess. But things were about to get much worse. Weapon X was a joint project of the U.S. and Canadian governments. So he tosses his helmet. It might have been a shadow organization. But when you've got billions of dollars sunk into a project, when you're a war machine employed by the geopolitical theater, a breach of security is a global emergency. They didn't know who the Yautja was. But he'd royally pissed them off Control, this is Schwartz. The bogey's not responding to our hails, but we just gave him a wake-up call with a hard point. Please advise, over. Schwartz, this is Control. Keep those birds alert, but do not otherwise engage unless that bogey flies. We're scrambling, ground crew. We believe there's an asset on board worth more than a fleet of F-16s. I don't know what the hell kind of vessel this is, Control, but it's on the move. Permission to fire? Coom. We lost Weathers. I repeat, Weathers is down. Weathers? You mean Carl Weathers? Schwartz, this is Control. Please advise on its flight path so we can arrange an intercept. Is it headed east? Northeast? Is this a Russian or Chinese operation? Up. What did you say? I said it's headed fucking up. As in, it's headed for the fucking moon. Fire at will. Rage. Berserker rage. That was my default emotion. I'm coming back. I mean, can you imagine being alive with just half of your skull with open flesh, open exposed muzzle and bone and tendon and your eye, and what kind of excruciating pain that would be? Target hit, but it's not enough. Turning back at 70,000 feet. The mission report says the hull wasn't breached by a missile strike. So I can only assume I was to blame for it. This blast probably provoked me. Like a stone striking a hornet's nest. I would have been ripped out of the ship. So now Wolverine in space! And they make a point of pointing out that the Predator helmet is just kind of there. And into the void. I mean, the punishment that Wolverine can take, I think, is one of the big draws for this character, is that he takes all this punishment. Like like a lot of people feel like we all take so much damage and punishment. We have to get back up. And he's like the ultimate version of the gets destroyed and finds a way to stand up and be better than ever. But now he's in space. Control, the bogey is off radar and out of my sight. I believe it's left the atmosphere. But I've got eyes on that's not them. But I've got eyes on something. What is it? Schwartz, report. I can't say except it's come off the ship. I'll pass along the coordinates of the impact site. But whatever it is, there's not going to be much of it left. Whatever weapons Professor Thornton built in this world, what do we have here? Could not compare to the horrifying advancements of space. but brushing up against one weapon. Dun dun dun. Helped him improve on another. Da-da-da-da-da. 1 week ago. That looks like very much like a Layfeld Wolverine, if I'm being honest. Spent a lot of time trying to figure out my broken history. My skin might be clean of injury, but my brain is a gummed up mess of scar tissue from mind wipes and memory plants. Sometimes I go back to places half remembered or forgotten entirely to try to shake loose some rust. That includes the ruins of the Weapon X lab. How many times has he gone through the ruins of the Weapon X lab, by the way? In a lead-lined vault, in a lead-lined container. I found this. I figured if I unshelled it, it would only be a matter of time. He would come. And this time, I would set the terms of our engagement. We would end this hunt where it began. In the wild north, where the only law is that of tooth and claw. And then instead of ending, right, maybe seeing a predator on a ship getting a little beep from the helmet, we switch. Japan, Muramasa's estate, the past. I've never known peace. But in Japan, I got right up to the edge of it. Maybe it sounds like a bunch of hippie nonsense. But I've never felt as much a connection between my mind, body, and the earth as when I studied under the madman swordsmith Muramasa. Muramasa was known as the greatest swordsmith in the world. His method was based on constant refinement. The Japanese steel, tamahagane, is heated and purified and forged and coated and curved and polished. A process that demanded impossible patience. To him, I was ore. It might take years to remove all the impurities and burrs and warped edges. But he believed it would be worth it. He believed that one day I would become his strongest sword. But that day was a long way off. You're good, Wolverine. But you're not the best there is. Not until you can beat this old man. That's only because you won't let me use my claws. When the day comes, you can best me with a sword alone. You'll be able to fight 10 men or 100 men and... Huh? What's wrong? You have been my student for a long time, Logan-san. Snicked. But today, we fight together. I had changed several times over since the time we first met. And the Yautja had adapted as well. So, as we see, he doesn't have his helmet, so he's using one of the skulls, his trophies, as he's come back once again to try to take Wolverine down. Now, what time period would this be in? Would this be in the 80s? I'm not sure. But we'll find out what happens when we come back with Wolverine versus Predator versus Wolverine #4. This is the cover for that. Now, let's get back to what I thought about all of this, because this is this is great. And again, Kai Zama coming in with the Muramasa art, like just another great. It's another great style for that time period. It works. Each one, even Ken Lashley's, present story. Even though I said it kind of is Wolverine in that one shot, looks a little bit like a Layfeld thing. It's fits that, like, we're in the woods. I'm in my classic brown and gold, brown and yellow, brown and gold outfit, ready to take care of business. The Weapon X, he's all a very Barry Windsor Smith inspired art, looking like he's, such a great part of the story. Just like this guy's like, I'm taking my trophy, I'm taking my ball, and I'm going home. Except I forgot about the US government. Yeah, they kind of want their thing back, and just like how he still like doesn't understand. Like, I dumped this corpse here, and the corpse just gets up and walks off his ship. Now, with like all the depressurized, like he depressurized his ship. So how the hell did he get home? I want to see some of this story from the Predator's perspective of like what happens every time he goes home and not killed Wolverine. Does he like have to hide? Does he get like chided? Is everybody making fun of him? Is he the Predator who just has to keep going into his little workshop and he's like, I'm gonna get him one day? Like like is he like, Wile E. Coyote versus the Roadrunner, or Dr. Claw versus Inspector Gadget? I'll get you next time, and he tries to come up with another way. But so far, like the Predator just can't figure out. As much as he, like he's trying to evolve himself to evolve with his prey, Wolverine just keeps staying one step ahead of him without even knowing it all the time. He doesn't even remember all these things. I love that they talk about the investigation that Wolverine goes into, how he found out these things, how he pieced it together, knowing how personal this is. He's done all kinds of research into his past. This is a different kind of research where he's just like, I have been hunted by this motherfucker for years. It's time to finally end this because of everything else in my life. I need to start maybe crossing some things off so I don't have to look over my shoulder about every single thing. But, there'll probably be Predator versus Wolverine part 2 or something where they'll team up together or some crap like that. I don't know. But we'll find out what happens in issue #4. Now, again, also, this had the end part where he's fighting Muramasa, which actually connects with the Wolverine solo series that we have done a couple of issues about, where we see the Muramasa blade in that, and we also see the Muramasa blade take control of Wolverine. So that whole part of his life is integral. We are seeing every major point of Wolverine's life in this series. And again, just really impressed with Percy's ability to weave in and out of eras. And Wolverine's a perfect character for that because of all the mind wipes and the way that he hasn't always been in control of himself. So again, another great solid issue of Predator versus Wolverine. But can he stick the landing, folks? When we come back around to talk about Predator versus Wolverine #4, we'll find out. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to be good to each other. Keep reading comics. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell for all notifications, all that jazz. And we'll see you on the next video, Bob. Bye. Let's fucking go. Ba 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 bum. Ba bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Ba 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 bum.